Good morning, everyone. My name is Paris Carter. I'm a research intern here at TSTEM Incorporated. And on the behalf of TSTEM Incorporated, I would like to welcome you all to today's webinar. We're so excited that you all were able to attend this event. And now I would like to introduce the author and the face of TSTEM Incorporated, Dr. Pamela McCauley.
Thank you so much, Paris, for introducing us and getting us kicked off, and for all of your hard work on this webinar. And I cannot tell you how excited I am to see so many warm faces and smiles that I haven't seen in a long time, and also to see new faces and new folks here. So it's just a joy to be here today. And I want to thank everyone for joining us for the launch of Engineering for Teens. And this is really is a book and an opportunity for us to inspire an entire new generation. So thank you all again from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this event today. And I wanted to share a little bit about the purpose of us getting together today for this event. Obviously, the book is being released today, but more than that, I just thought it would be important for us to get together and share our enthusiasm for engineering, why we all are interested in engineering or interested in seeing other people or teenagers become engineers and scientists. And so bringing us all together like this in a fun way, I thought would be very exciting, and then be a tool that we can use and share with others. So we're going to be giving away several books in the coming days and weeks. So if you're not connected with us on social media, please do so. And also Annette is going to be pasting in the chat a link for you to go online and order the book if you haven't done so already. So please connect with us on social media. Consider buying the book for a child in your family, put one in your library, or just keep one in your home. So with that, I want to encourage my panelists, these wonderful folks, excuse me, who have agreed to be a part of the event today, to introduce themselves and say a few words. And I have to say, I'm so proud of these young folks who are here today. It just warms my heart to see them now doing their thing as engineers. And I've had the pleasure to mentor and work with most of them. So with that, let me introduce Dr. Jesse Talley, Ms. Carissa Hall, Dr. Ashley Soiler Akbas, sorry, Osley, Mr. Brian Strevens, and Mr. Hunter Hendrick. So I apologize if I messed up your names a little bit, but do want to begin and ask you all to introduce yourselves. So why don't we, let's see, and my screen is so full, I can't see everyone. So why don't we start with you, Carissa?
Hello, my name is Carissa Hall. I'm currently a metrics and reporting specialist with Delta Airlines. I got my bachelor's in industrial engineering from the University of Central Florida, and I got my master's in engineering management from the University of Central Florida as well. I worked with Dr. McCauley while I was in school, undergraduate and graduate, as a research assistant and a TA for her. So I'm super excited to be here and just share my knowledge and experience.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you so much, Carissa. And I see Hunter joined us. Hunter, you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, my name is Hunter Hendrick, and I am a senior materials developer for the North Face. And I got my BS in textile engineering as well as a BS in biomedical engineering from North Carolina State University. And I currently develop fabrics and hard goods for the equipment product at the North Face. So that is our technical backpacks, tents, and sleeping bags.
Fantastic.
Thank you for asking me to join.
Thank you, Hunter, for being here. You all have some really cool jobs. Dr. Osley.
Hi, thank you very much for having me here. I'm a senior manager with Universal Parks and Resorts. We are developing new attractions and new lands for all parks around the world. My BS is in systems engineering from Turkey. I did my master's in engineering management in Rochester. And then I came down south for a warmer weather for UCF to do my PhD in modeling and simulation.
We like the warm weather. I do understand. And Osley was at UCF while I was there, and I had opportunity and pleasure of working with her as well. She's amazing. And Mr. Strevens.
Good morning, everybody. So my name is Brian. I did research with Dr. McCauley for 2.5 years while going after my bachelor's in industrial engineering. Worked with Carissa for those 2.5 years, so that was a good time. One of those projects in particular, we designed an ergonomic workstation for NASA, actually had the desk built and delivered. So I have no idea if they ever used it, but it was a really fun project getting to go from ground up on that. So just a really awesome experience. So really happy to be here today. Appreciate you inviting me.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you so much for being here. We had so many good times on our research team, didn't we? Man, oh man, we did. And it was great working with you. Brian was one of our superstars, as well as Carissa. And I don't see Dr. Jessie in the audience yet. So we'll hear from her once she joins in. So I would love to start the conversation, and each of the folks who's introduced themselves is being featured in the book. And so I would love to hear from you about your experiences as an engineering student, or what got you interested in studying engineering. So, and we can jump right in. I don't know, we want to start with you, Brian?
Sure. So when I got to college, I just knew that I enjoyed math and the sciences. So I knew I enjoyed it. So engineering seemed like a good fit for me. I actually started UCF as a computer engineering major. Really did not like it for the first semester. So what the engineering department did was they had the department head for each of the departments come to the intro for engineering class and kind of give an overview of what each of those disciplines were. And when I believe Dr. Geiger from UCF currently works for Universal, when he spoke for industrial engineering, and I was really tied to the engineering business aspect of the discipline. And I felt that was really more what I was suited for. So just really appreciated that. Obviously that opened up a lot of avenues for me. And I would just say for anyone who's, in college, I mean, you're there to learn, you're there to get experience, you're there to do unique things. So I remember being in Dr. McCauley's ergonomics class and her mentioning, hey, I'm looking for a couple of new research folks to kind of help me out with these really cool projects that I've got. And I heard that, and I immediately went up to her, asked her how I got signed up and involved. So part of that message is when you have those opportunities, you see things to do something unique. If you can fit it into your schedule, try to tackle those. That was an experience that I'll never forget, obviously. And college is just so much more than just going to your everyday classes. It's just making sure you're getting, obviously still need to make sure you're getting good grades. But if you can find those unique opportunities, find something to separate yourself from the group, your experience will be that much more rewarding.
Outstanding. Brian, thank you so much for sharing that. And you're so right. I remember very well when you came up and asked about working on my team. And I was so glad you did. We and students, I love what Brian pointed out about him. He started as one major, but then switched to another. So that happens often. Any of our other panelists want to weigh in about your experiences early in your engineering education?
Yes, I actually had an experience quite similar to Brian's. My mom was a civil engineer, so that's what I knew about engineering. Like, engineers build bridges. That's all I knew about engineering. But just like Brian, I went to the intro to engineering class, and we had somebody from UPS, an industrial engineer, come and talk about just process improvement. And he said one thing they did to make the routes easier is make sure UPS drivers take less left turns. And I'm like, wow, that's super simple. And I like to do that. So that day, I changed my major to industrial engineering.
Wow.
Yeah, that same day. And I didn't do much research into it. I just knew that I liked that. And down the road, I was actually working for the African American Studies Department. And I came across you, Dr. McCauley. I saw, I'm like, wow, she looks like me. I'm going to reach out. It took a while to get you. Because I came up to you when I had in your class, and I came up to you, I was like, hey, I've been trying to reach out. And that same day you were like, hey, I have a research team. Why don't you join? And from then on, been under your wing.
I remember that so well. You said, I've been trying to connect with you for 2 semesters. I think that's what you said when you caught up with me.
Yes.
So I was so glad to connect with you. Well, this is awesome. It sounds like we're leaning more toward industrial engineering, but we want all fields of engineering. We want everyone, but of course, the beautiful thing about engineering is you have so many different options that you can pursue. Hunter, talk a little bit about your journey.
Sure. I think I kind of related to Brian in high school. I was really terrible at the humanities field of study and really good at all the STEM fields, especially math and physics. And so I think I was always kind of headed towards some sort of technical route when I went to college. And I grew up kind of 10 minutes away from North Carolina State University, which has a huge engineering school. So I think I felt like I was always kind of around engineering a little bit. Both of my grandpas were engineers, and so I think my initial idea of what an engineer did was a little bit more like old school. They are the people that wear the short sleeve white button up shirts and carry a calculator in their front pocket. And I would argue that there's maybe just a few of those types of engineers still left that have a similar, more technical experience. Whereas right now I feel like my engineering job, which I don't even have engineering in my job title, but is a little bit more of like business and collaborative heavy. But anyway, I knew that I decided to study textile engineering and biomedical engineering because I knew in high school I had more of an interest in the medical sciences. I worked as an EMT at the time, and that definitely kind of got me more interested in the medical side. And I double majored in the textile engineering field as well, just because I could fit it in my schedule. And they had they really sold me on the program at North Carolina State. So I thought it would just be kind of like a unique double major that seemed really interesting to me. There's a lot of materials heavy science in the biomedical engineering field. So I felt like having that textile knowledge would have helped me a lot. Obviously I didn't even really get into that field in the end, just because of college is very transformative and your plans change, and I'm very happy with how it turned out. And so I think to answer your question, my biggest takeaway is that like engineering in the end, like when you're actually working in the field is a lot different than the way they probably portray it in movies, or the way that you might have seen your grandparents work as engineers. It's less, to me, from my experience, it's a little bit less sitting at a desk doing math problems all day, and it's a little bit more at the base, just kind of solving problems in different ways. So
well said. Now that's I so appreciate that you saying that, and because I do think that a lot of young folks don't really understand a day in the life of an engineer, and really what it means. And one of the things I'm loving hearing the common theme sort of is that you think there was a transformation or change as you started college. And so I want our young folks who might be thinking about engineering not feel like if they decide to study engineering, if I get in that field, then that's the only thing I'm going to be able to do. Dr. Osley, speaking, I saw you nodding your head when Hunter was saying how you don't just sit around. I'd love to hear more about your journey.
So I started in physics, so I'm hearing a lot of commonalities here. It sounds like we all started somewhere else, and it's a part of the journey. You get all these different classes when you hit college, and you see what you like more, so you adapt, and then you basically get experienced new stuff, and then you change, and it's very normal. So no one should get frustrated with the classes, but like look out for like what they like and pursue that. I think that's another commonality I recognize we all have. Sounds like an engineer in our family. So that brings the importance of a mentor in the family, like someone you can like basically see what they're doing and get a little bit experience of how is an engineering life's work. The part that I wouldn't agree is my life is math. So I still sit down on my desk with pen, paper, calculators. But I love it. So again, like it's a part that you choose and the path that you can actually shape. If you like more management, you can go more towards a project management, like overview of optimizing. But if you like more the math part, you can stay in that deep bushes of engineering.
And you're so good at that, Dr. Osley.
Thank you.
Well, I love that. Did you hear that? And it sounds like we're really loving our jobs. I really love to talk to young engineers who are really enjoying their work and truly feeling like, I mean, you're making a difference. I mean, think about the companies we have represented here. And so it's amazing to see the variability that we can use to apply our engineering degrees. One of the things I wanted to say, I want to get to questions soon, but I wanted to throw one more topic out here for a discussion with our panelists, and this may also stimulate some questions. But I get emails sometimes about how do you get students involved in engineering, because as Osley mentioned, most of you all had an engineer in your father. Well, my father wasn't an engineer, but he worked with the Army Corps of Engineers. He was in the Army, and I remember him talking about they built ice bridges. And so that intrigued me. And then I liked science. I always liked math. So that sort of built my interest in it. But I want us to help those families or parents or aunts who want to inspire a student to consider engineering, who may not have an engineer that they know. How might they reach out to those young folks? And jump right in.
So I'd say get them involved in a engineering group. I was a part of NSBE in college and National Society of Black Engineers, and we would put on programs for kids. One big thing we did was a walk for education, and we walked throughout the downtown Orlando area and
wow,
and passed out pamphlets about engineering programs for kids, like college opportunities. And at the end, we had a barbecue in the park, and we did like a little engineering. I think we built rockets.
Oh, what a great idea!
Other than that, we had NSBE here at, I forget what school it was, but a middle school, where we would go after school and just teach engineering, engineering concepts. So there are groups out there for people who don't have engineers in their family that people are volunteering to teach kids. So if you're interested in it, or you want to get your child interested in it, look for something like that. Or we might come knocking on your door.
Absolutely. Carissa, maybe before the end of the chat, if you have it, you could put in the chat a link if someone's interested in trying to have a NSBE Junior chapter at their school.
Yeah, I'll definitely do that.
Okay, great.
Yeah, and I just want to go ahead and piggyback off of that. I don't have an engineer in my family. My dad's in sales. My mom is a teacher. I've got 3 older siblings. None of them are anywhere near engineering. So getting involved in an organization is the #1 thing you can do.
Yes.
You know, and not everyone is, you know, able to go to college. That doesn't stop you from joining a professional organization.
Right.
Let's say you catch wind of, I'm just going to keep using industrial engineering as an example, getting involved in the industrial engineering organization. I mean, you have yearly dues, but it doesn't require you to have a degree. It doesn't require you to be anything
Right.
other than interested. The best thing you can do is surround yourself with people who have that passion. So if you're interested in industrial engineering, go ahead and surround yourself with industrial engineers, get involved, talk to people. It's just really the #1 way to actually break into the field. And then, you know, maybe you meet somebody, you impress them, and, you know, now you're working somewhere that you really enjoy. Again, the cost barrier is very minimal. You know, if you think about a yearly membership to an organization versus college, very sizable difference there. But that's really the #1 thing. Get involved and surround yourself with the right people.
Absolutely. No, that's such a good point. And the professional societies, I mean, if you go to my webpage, what we'll do, we'll post a list of professional societies, as well as a few of those that have programs for young folks. So Dr. Osley, Hunter, any thoughts from you on how we can get folks to help students understand how to get involved in engineering?
I love that now museums, for example, started doing a lot of these like events during the weekends, for example, for middle school, high school kids. So reach out to local sources, basically, like see what's happening in your city. And the colleges always have these events, again, quarterly, maybe per semester, like the robotics, for example, games. It's a good way to show students like what is possible, what is out there.
Absolutely.
And most of these are on YouTube right now. So you know, like how the new kids, new generation is up on social media. So it's very easy to access. Like you don't physically have to go there. So just track those. I would recommend.
I'm so glad you said that, because yes, certainly we want to join organizations, and most of us can't wait to get back to normal and get out and do things. But there's so much you can access today from your computer. And now that we're all in Zoom land, I don't know many organizations that don't have some kind of professional meeting that you can attend via Zoom. And oftentimes for students, for high school students, the membership or participation is free in many of these organizations. So really think about that. One of the other things I want to point out, and then I want to jump to Hunter, but I'm so glad Brian talked about, maybe some people feel like they can't go to college. I want us to realize that the barriers are real for some people. But one of the things that I have tried very hard to do is to talk about different pathways to a career in engineering. I was 16 years old when I graduated from high school, and I'd gone to Frederick Douglass High School and didn't have a lot of the preparation that many students have when they graduate from a more technically equipped high school. So I really wasn't prepared to enter the university environment. So I enrolled in community college and I got my associate degree. And then after getting my associate degree, I was prepared to enroll at the University of Oklahoma. And the costs were much cheaper. The classes were much smaller. And they had courses that could help me prepare for calculus. I'd never even had calculus when I graduated. So I had to take trigonometry, analytic geometry, and pre-calculus before I even got into calculus. And some people might say, well, that was a long route, but that is definitely worth the effort. It also, you're in an environment where you, again, have the smaller classrooms and the teacher may be able to spend more time with you. So don't feel like just because you aren't able to go to a university right now, that means you can't pursue a career as an engineer. But go ahead, Hunter, would love to hear from you.
Sure. Just piggybacking off of what Dr. Asley said, most universities have some sort of summer program for each department, has a summer program for high school kids. And that's really kind of when you need to be thinking about like what you're going to be studying in college. So I personally went to this summer day program called Polymer Camp, which I think is a ridiculous name to attract high school students, but it was just, it was an introduction to the College of Textiles at North Carolina State. And so even if the stuff I was learning about wasn't even that interesting to me, it was like, it was cool to have some sort of buy-in to a program there that, made me feel like a little bit attached to something, because before that, some people just know that they might want to study something in science, but that's not really a specific degree program. So these summer camps that engineering schools offer, I think are available at a lot of universities. And I think it's just a matter of the high schools themselves doing a good job at letting their students know that this is available.
Absolutely. Now that is such a good point. And we still have Polymer Camp, Hunter.
Oh yeah.
Well,
change the name.
Maybe we need to work on that name, because we're talking about making some changes here at the Wilson College of Textiles. Yes, Carissa posted in the chat the NSBE Junior chapter locator. Thank you so much. I really want to encourage folks to think about that. And then there's also SHIP, the Society of Hispanic Professional Engineers. And so SHIP is very active at the collegiate level, but also doing outreach, as is ACES, American Indian Science and Engineering Society. And then of course there is SWE, the Society of Women Engineers. So there are so many organizations, and then every engineering discipline has its own society, like IEEE, Institute for Electrical and Electronic Engineers. Thank you, Judith. Then we've got, well, don't get me started, IISC, Institute of Industrial Systems Engineers. So every society, if you think you are even a little bit interested in engineering, Google it, or email me, email us, reach out to me on my website or on social media, and we'll help you find some organizations that could be of interest to you and your family. So we've been having this wonderful conversation for about a half an hour, but now I want to open it up for some questions, see if we have any questions from our participants. I've have received a couple by email. Oh, and Annette just posted a link to the book, Engineering for Teens, on Amazon. If you want to click on that or save that link and order or share it with folks, that would be great. So do we have any questions? Would love to hear from you.
I do have one question that we got over email.
And I think he might be here, Mr. Michael Steinbach.
He is. It's Michael Steinbach's question, and it is, what are some talking points for introducing youngsters to the concept of engineering and ways to illustrate to them that engineering and science is literally everywhere?
Great questions. Okay, I'm going to let our panelists jump on that. I would love to hear your thoughts.
What I can think of is just any sort of problem solving. If there's engineering is problem solving. So if they have an issue, thinking of ways to solve it, and that's engineering.
That's engineering. Because what do we teach engineering students? The engineering problem solving approach. Everyone's heard that term who's had an engineering course. Absolutely. I agree. And when we say engineering is all around us, it's all around us. If they're on their cell phone, say, you know that thing you're looking at right now? You know how many engineers it took to have input into that? It took obviously computer engineers, electrical engineers, industrial engineers looking at the human factors and ergonomics of it. So engineering really literally is all around us. I mean, the Zoom to actually set this up, the car you get in. I mean, other thoughts, Brian, Hunter, love to hear from you all. Dr.
Yeah,
Madison.
I think one of the things that always kind of drives me nuts is when I hear young folks say, oh, why am I in math class? I'm literally never going to use this again. When am I ever going to use this formula again? And I think the thing that you can do to kind of help break that paradigm for young folks is give them real life examples of where math is used.
Excellent.
Again, for one example is I saw my cousin post on Facebook the other day, something to the extent of, I want to really apologize to my 7th grade math teacher, was just doing a project in my basement and realized I was using the Pythagorean theorem to solve it. It's just,
I love it.
just doing a simple project in their basement. I could list off example after example, but I'll try to cut it short here. Just come to them with real world practical examples of, hey, you could be doing this really cool thing, and here's the math behind it. You got to understand that math in order to go do that really cool thing.
Absolutely. No, that's funny. Your cousin apologized to his math teacher. Math teachers all over the world are celebrating.
Very true. I mean, like, if you think about STEM, the math, the physics, they're all very abstract and the way they teach, actually, it's very intangible. So the better we connect that to the real world examples, like Brian was saying, the better our chances of spreading this, basically. So I agree.
And you know what else? I love hearing these kinds of examples. But one of the things that really bothers me is when I hear somebody say, well, I don't want to be an engineer. I want to do something that makes a difference in the world. And I say, well, what? Are you kidding? I mean, when you think about Hunter's biomedical focus, I mean, prosthetic devices. I mean, devices to help us communicate, people who can't speak to actually be able to have a voice. There's so many opportunities for us to change the world with our engineering knowledge. So Hunter, since I jumped on your biomedical background, you jump on it. And then textiles, don't get me started with COVID and how much engineering has had to come into place to address so much of what we're going through in this COVID era.
Yeah, I think a lot of people want to do something that makes a difference in the world. And I think also a lot of, teenagers and high school students want to just do something that they actually feel passionate about or have some sort of personal relationship with. And so I think I know for me personally, a lot, you look at these companies that make products that you use every day, you might feel like, you know, Apple's a really cool company because you love their phones and laptops, or you might think, I really love watching the NFL. And I think my message is that, you know, all of engineering is probably one of the easier ways to get into all these companies that teenagers feel really related to. Because I can tell you at the North Face, you know, you might think, I really want to work for the North Face, so I'm just going to go and get a marketing degree and maybe try to get into that company that way. But I would argue that, you know, going into sales or marketing or something like that is such a flooded and competitive way to get into working at this company compared to the way I went in, which is getting an engineering degree and working more on like the material science aspect of it. Because, you know, for me, there's just, you know, if you look at, especially the textile program that I studied, there's maybe like order of magnitude of hundreds of students versus if you were to go in through the business route, it's more of like thousands of students. So you're just the competition is a little bit like less going the engineering route. And, you know, if it plays to your strengths, I think I would recommend, you know, using the STEM engineering route to get to the company that you feel connected to.
Absolutely. That is such a good point. And when we look at the projections in terms of career opportunities, it's clear that engineering and STEM majors, there are so many opportunities out there that are present today and going to continue to be there. So excellent point. I want to make sure that we give time for any other questions. And I'm so grateful for those of you who've joined us. So do you have any other questions or comments or anything you'd like to share with us?
So far, I don't have anything else in the chat. If you all have questions, please use that chat function and I will ask them.
Or could you unmute them if they want to ask the question themselves?
I think so. They should be able to unmute themselves.
Okay.
If you can't unmute yourself, raise your hand or write that in the chat that you'd like to ask a question, and I will unmute you so that you can ask.
And while we're working through all of that, I would love to hear from our panelists. What advice would they give a young person who says, I have never thought about an engineering career. It just does not seem like something that would be fun. What would you say to that young person?
I would say, again, like how we just discussed, engineering is everywhere, but I've had fun opportunities in engineering. Like I said, I worked for Delta Airlines. I've done flight tests. Like I
love that story.
Well, yeah, it was like one of my first few weeks at Delta when I started as a co-op, and my boss told me to like do a flight test to Germany. And I'm thinking like, okay, so I'm just gonna fly there and fly back. He was like, oh no, stay the weekend. So I took a flight to Germany, testing out I worked in interiors engineering on the electrical side, testing the IFE system. So like the movies and the games and the seat back monitor. So my job was to watch movies and play games and just to test to make sure it worked. And I got a job out of it. And I'm sure there are other, I mean, working for Delta, like I've been able to like go on planes in the airport, walk through the airport, get on a plane, check the pilot's cockpit, which I mean, it's just very interesting. You know, like there's so many opportunities in engineering and there's so many opportunities to do fun projects and fun things.
Absolutely. Well, speaking of fun things, Universal.
I was gonna just piggyback on that. It's the same. You open a roller coaster, you're supposed to test it. So you're one of the first ones to ride a new coaster that they're gonna be opening up. Very similarly, I have a lot of engineering friends who actually travel all around the world because you have these companies that are based in Europe, Asia. So they have to go there and look at these vehicles and experience it before they actually design for our park. So it's just a wide range of fun things that you can experience.
Truly, so many things you can experience. Even things like, in addition to being fun, being able to experience things such as helping to make a difference. I know in my ergonomics lab, Brian, you might remember this when we did the evaluation of the personal protective equipment. So we looked at PPE. This was during the Ebola crisis. And so we were looking at studying the safety of PPE, and of course, because that's an occupational ergonomics issue. And then as an expert witness, I look at biomechanics. So I help calculate the forces that a person experiences in an automobile accident and if that's likely to result in an injury. So helping out in cases like that. And Brian and Hunter, your thoughts?
I have a ton of fun at my job.
I bet you do.
Yeah.
Applications at you all's companies are going to go up after this.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I should preface by saying that sometimes fun comes from being fulfilled in your work. And I don't think it has to be like what I'm going to describe. But, you know, I, for my job, have gotten to go skiing and ice climbing and
wow.
Camping. And, you know, sometimes it's just a company benefit. And sometimes it's like to actually test product. And so it's not just a perk of working at a place like the North Face, but, you know, there's a lot of times where I'm in awe of like what I'm getting paid to do out just in the field. And it's not just, you know, sitting on my email. I've also gotten to see the world too. I, before COVID, would go to Asia once a year to see our factories that make the materials we use. And I've been to India and been to the Himalayas, and there's been
on somebody else's dollar too, right?
Yeah. And yeah, exactly. It's like it's for my job. So I would say that aspect is a lot of fun. And another aspect of it is when you work in the clothing industry, sometimes you get to see more of like the fashion side. So like it's been fun for me to work on some collaborations with companies like Gucci and Supreme.
Wow.
And
cool.
See these products that people wait in line for hours for before they get released. So it's been a lot of fun. My career has been a lot of fun. And so I think like, you know, if the outdoors is something you're interested in, I would recommend looking into, you know, finding a way to work into like an outdoor apparel company, because it's, you know, it's a total blast.
Outstanding. That is so cool.
Yeah, so answering that question, I just think that, you know, young folks, you know, they don't know what they don't know, right? So if you don't expose them to what's out there, you know, they're not going to come across it. You know, and in terms of kind of going back to the last question as well, some of the, I think, biggest role models, some of the most influential people in the world today, you think of Steve Jobs, who built a Mac by hand and was trying to get that pushed. Mark Zuckerberg, he was a programmer. Now he's the head of Facebook. Elon Musk, he's an engineer at heart. You know, a lot of these folks, they're not just, you know, they didn't go, you know, school, get their MBA. They're not just a suit and, you know, just money movers. You know, they're engineers. They're people who want to make a difference in the world. So, you know, if you're interested in an industry like Dr. McCauley was talking about, STEM touches it. Every single industry STEM touches. So whatever your passion is, if you enjoy problem solving, then STEM's the field.
Absolutely. Very well said. And listen, we've been talking about how much fun we've had as engineers and all the opportunities. And I want us to make sure that we share with the young folks or those who may be mentoring or encouraging those who want to study engineering or who may start an engineering career, that there may be some challenges. There may be some difficult times. So I would love for us to share with them how you may have handled a difficult situation. I know for me, as I mentioned, my background wasn't as strong mathematically or my science. So I had to do a lot of prep work in terms of getting prepared to even get accepted into an engineering program. And I have to admit, sometimes it made me feel like I wasn't as good an engineering student as other people, some of those who had more preparation. And thank God for organizations like NSBE, the National Society of Black Engineers, and Society of Women Engineers. I was an officer in both of those, and also in the Institute of Industrial Engineers. So for me, handling those difficult times, it was really important to utilize these professional societies that all of our panelists are talking about. I just can't stress just how important building yourself a network and having those relationships is, because I am sure without that support in those organizations, and at the University of Oklahoma, we had the minority engineering program where many of us would get together. Without that support system, I definitely would not have finished my engineering degrees. So I want to encourage those who, again, may not have an engineer in your family or may not be as comfortable, that to not be afraid to step into that space and know that if you have difficulties, there are resources and support systems there to help you, and use it. Don't feel bad about needing the help. So that's one of the worst things we can do to ourselves, is when we need the help, being afraid to ask for it. So again, would love to hear from you all about maybe a difficult situation that you had and how you managed it.
Yeah, I'd like to take that one. So
Sure.
part of my story getting to, where I am today, I failed Calc 1 the first time I took it.
It was
And I
Calc
had
2 for me, Brian. Okay.
Oh, it gets worse. It gets worse. I went and talked to my calc professor after that class, and I said, "Hey, look, I'm just really struggling. I guess I really don't understand why this isn't clicking." And he said, "Well, maybe engineering's not for you." I was like, "Oh, okay." Well, clearly I didn't listen to him. I went on to fail.
You should have told me, Brian. I'd have straightened that out. But go ahead.
The problem is I thought he was a good professor too. But anyway, I failed Calc 3, passed it when I took it again, and I failed chemistry for engineering twice. I did not have the easiest road going through college. A lot of that stuff I struggled with. And now I'm going to sound like an athlete giving a post-game interview. You just have to believe in yourself. You
Awesome.
you have to believe in yourself. You have to be willing to work hard, put the time in, because if you know what you're doing, you know you're enjoying it. Just stay on that path. Some things feel right, some things feel don't. And if you know where you're headed, you can kind of push through that. If you don't know where you're going in life, then yeah, maybe I would have, switched majors to a business degree, and life would be a little less fun today. But, just because there's a hurdle in the road doesn't mean you need to turn around.
Outstanding. And Brian, thank you so much for sharing that, for being honest. And I'm telling you, Brian, I told Brian and Carissa were on my research team. Brian rocked on that research team. And think about it. Some people would say, if I had that much difficulty in a math class leading up to my engineering degree, maybe I'm not cut out for it. And that couldn't be further from the truth. I mean, seriously. So thank you so much for sharing that.
Of course.
Would love to hear more from the rest of you all, maybe challenges you've had and how you managed to get through those.
I mean, for me, I think was the question of what field of engineering, because you start the college and then you're supposed to decide what the rest of your life is going to be about. I thought that was very challenging, even at the beginning. Like, of course, you're already depressed from the classes as well. Like, you have all those loads of math. And for my case, it was control theory. I passed it in 3 times.
Everybody has that course, don't they?
Everybody has it. But like, on top of all that load and exhaustion, you're also trying to say that, okay, is this what it is for my life? So I would recommend having a mentor. Like we're saying, all these clubs and organizations, they help, but having that one person as a mentor really helps you get a better vision. Like, go to that 10,000 feet and get a bigger view of like what's ahead of you, what you can do. So it really helped.
Absolutely. Mentoring is so important. And if you don't have access to a person that can be like a single mentor to you, what Dr. Osley said about joining those professional societies, I mean, that will create an environment where you can find an individual mentor, but also the organization itself can be a form of mentoring and guidance.
Yeah, I just want to share a quick story about that, about mentoring. That was part of the reason why, when you said you were looking for a research assistant, I immediately went straight to you, Dr. McCulley, because I've had a professor that has just stood up in the front of the classroom, and if you can't see my monitor, they just kind of look like this because they're sitting behind their computer and they're lecturing to a hall of 120 people. You can just barely see my eyes and my forehead. Dr. McCulley was somebody that said, I don't care if I'm wearing heels. I'm going to be pacing up and down this classroom. I might go through the rows of your class, and I'm really sorry if I take my heels off, but I can't just stand here and lecture to you. And it was just that's just somebody that, again, that's just a person you want to surround yourself with. So definitely find yourself a mentor that you look up to.
Oh, thanks, Brian. That's so funny. Carissa and Osley are shaking their heads. They've seen me do that.
I kind of want to piggyback on that, like going back to talking about like, well, I guess this wasn't said, but like a common misconception is that, engineers are nerds, like they're boring people. When I first saw Dr. McCauley, like she was wearing like a sharp suit, had her heels on, like hair done. I'm like, oh, this is what engineers are like. Like I have more courage to go into this. Like engineers aren't a monolith. Like we're everything, cool engineers.
Exactly.
All engineers are cool to me, but like, like we're
absolutely. We're here to shout at the stereotype, folks. Okay, Let's do that. Because some people would think Brian and Hunter are way too cool to be engineers. Okay.
Awesome.
I've got some questions for you guys in the chat. This is from Judith Nitch. She says, what's the plan to roll out the book to junior high students and teachers? I found that many high school kids don't understand the need to keep studying math and science in 9th and 10th grades. And she says she can't wait to read your book.
Oh, well, thank you, Judith. So glad you're here. I am working with my publisher. I was hoping that we would have a representative from the publisher on the webinar today, but I don't see anyone. But I'm working with my publisher to develop that plan to really make a strong effort to get it into the schools. And then this message is similar to a direct message I just got from George. What are some of the strategies to market engineering to Title I schools and to students struggling in the courses? Excellent points. And what I would do is would love to connect with you all via email, because I can ask the publisher to do it, but if I can forward an email to them from a real live person that's asking for a plan to do that, I think they would be even more interested in doing it. So Annette, would you please, or Paris, put my email in the chat so that folks know how to reach me directly if they want to follow up after this, and I can share their questions with my publisher, and as we move forward with a strategy to begin to do some of these rollouts. Okay. I love how honest this panel is, because if somebody were looking at you all, I mean, look, we've got Delta Airlines, Universal Studios, the North Face, Lockheed Martin, largest, one of the largest defense contractors in the world. And you all had challenges, but you're rocking it as engineers today. I mean, at the top of your game. And so many people would think that you have to never have struggled in a course to get where you all are today. And the reason, again, I wanted to do something like this, let's make engineering real. Let's make it accessible. Let's help young folks understand this is a place where you can come make a difference, even if you may not have had the best start, or even if you have challenges, you can still impact the world as an engineer and enjoy doing it. So I am so thrilled with how wonderful this panel has been in terms of sharing your experiences. So anything, we got just a few minutes left. I want to make sure to give folks opportunity if we have any more questions. I don't see
any more in the chat.
Okay. Well, this has been so wonderful. I wanted to make sure that I give our panelists an opportunity to have the last word. So would each of you take just a few moments, and I hope when people are watching, they have it on speaker view. So when you're speaking, your face is the biggest face, because I want them to hear from you telling them parting words on why you think it would be a great idea for them to consider a career in engineering, and how it really can be a way to live a great life and make a difference in the world. So we'll get started. You all jump right in. We've been flowing so well. I haven't even had to suggest who goes first or second.
I'll go first. I would just say, again, get involved in an organization, find a mentor, understand where STEM gets applied. All of these things surround just, understanding what's going on in the world, understanding where STEM can be applied, which is everywhere. You can
Exactly.
be a STEM major and you can end up in sports. You can be a STEM major, you can end up in politics. God forbid you really want to do that. There are so many
That's the
fields
truth.
where where STEM can be applied. So if you enjoy problem solving, then STEM's the field for you.
Outstanding. Well said. I love it. Someone put in the chat, when does the book go on sale? Today. Today is the actual launch day. Well, it's been on sale for a few days, but today is actually the launch day, and it's in paperback. The question was how many pages. I don't know, and I wrote it, but I don't know. So Osley, Hunter, Carissa, would love to hear from you. 130 pages. Thank you. Thank you.
Sure, I'll go. So it may seem like a rocky road at the beginning, but it's full of many accomplishments. So, and that feeling of solving your problem, feeding your curiosity is amazing. So you should definitely not give up and pursue it.
Fantastic. Absolutely. That rocky road is well worth climbing, folks. I tell you. Hunter, Carissa.
I'd say it definitely is tough. You know, everybody's talking about their courses. Mine was physics 1. It took me 3 times to pass it, but it's well worth it in the end. Like it feels very good when you finally get that diploma, like you know you earned it. And definitely, if you're a minority, I would definitely encourage.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, sorry.
I would definitely
Carissa.
encourage one to get in a group. You know, going as a Black woman, going through engineering classes, I didn't see many people like me at all. So it was very important for me to join NSBE when we would get in our meetings or the NSBE office talking, and everybody talking about like, oh, there's not many, and we could all lean on each other for encouragement, like encourage each other to keep going and passing down tips. So get involved in organizations.
So important. Don't you remember, Carissa? And Brian, you probably remember this too. I always share that in my classes with students. Be involved in your professional societies because it makes such a difference. You're going to need that support. But then also, you all were both leaders in your professional society. You get experience as a professional society. Hunter, I know you were a leader in the Wilson College, in the College of Textiles when you were here. So this is, there's so many reasons to get involved in your professional society. So please do it. Even as before you get to college, join, and that'll, again, you'll get tips, you'll learn things that other folks may not know about, and it's just a wonderful thing to do. And again, the costs are minimal, if any, today, particularly with, again, us being so connected virtually in this era. So Dr. Osley and Hunter?
My message, I guess, to any teenager right now is that whatever you love to do right now, or whatever it is that makes you really happy, even if it's like skateboarding or playing music, that, you know, when you think about your long-term career, that engineering has a way into those things that you love doing, even you might not even think that could be a career for you. And so I would try to remove the idea that engineering is all about, you know, building bridges like we talked about earlier. And if that's something you love, you can build bridges. But if you want to influence the video game industry, that there's a way to get there through an engineering degree. And so I would just encourage you to think about what you love doing right now, and how your career can be involved in that passion through engineering.
That is so true and so beautiful, Hunter. Because we do want to be happy at work. But what Hunter just said about think about what you love to do, and engineering really is a route. I mean, there's so many different engineering disciplines. I really want to encourage you to get the book. And this is not about my pocket, but really to understand all of the different disciplines in engineering, all of the different kinds of things you can do as an engineer that you can really love. From biomedical or the medical side of the house to computer side of the house, to we talk about if you want to build bridges, if you want to make a difference, you know, in government or in the military. I mean, there's engineering is everywhere. It really is. And so even agricultural engineering, you want to look at food science. So many different things that we can do as engineers and STEM professionals to change the world. So Dr. Osley, I'll give you the last glowing comments to encourage our young folks.
Sure. So I would also like to say that you don't have to like everything in the field of STEM. So when you're studying the college, like, it doesn't mean that you have to like everything. So just learn, listen to what your mind is telling you, what your heart is telling you, and go after that.
Outstanding. I love it. I love this. And that we, not only are we talking about the technical side of things, but how Dr. Osley said, you know, what your heart says, and, you know, Hunter talking about do what you love and being happy. And so, and Brian and Carissa, I'm just so excited about your willingness to be honest with the students. I mean, you're again at the top of your game at some of the biggest companies in the world, and being willing to share the challenges you had, yet you're superstars today. So I just can't thank you all enough for being here today. This has been recorded, the webinar. And so, Michael, I saw your question. We would love to share a copy with you. So we will have this posted within a 24-hour period. It will be up on the webinar. Excuse me, the webinar will be on the website, so you can access it. And Paris just put the link to the website in the chat. So if you want to grab that way you can log on and get a copy of it. If we can give our amazing panelists a round of applause. Brian, Hunter, Dr. Osley, and Carissa, you have been amazing. Thank you.
I just want to, I know where it's 12:01. I just think it's worth it for you and the panelists to give you all some of these things. Liz Gomez said, what best wishes to the team. Janelle Evans said, this was awesome and very informative. Congratulations to you and the book release. Liz said, thank you for the panelists for sharing their stories. And then Barbara Smith said, experiences shared by the panelists are incredibly encouraging, inspiring, and exciting. I plan to share the recording of this if it's available. And then Elsa Maria Castillo said that she's ordered a copy, and if she gets approval, she'd love to purchase for all the kids attending their summer programs this summer, 9th and 10th graders from the university, or to the University of New Mexico School of Engineering.
Fantastic. Wow. Thank you so much. Thank you, Annette, for sharing that. And thank you all so much for being here. Please do share this recording. More than anything, I want engineering to be a field that is welcoming and open for everyone, and that young people get excited about, because there's so much that we need to do to address the challenges in this world. Engineering's grand challenges, food challenges, health challenges, and we need engineers. We need engineers from all different backgrounds to be excited and engaged in this profession. So thank you again. I want to thank Paris and Alex and Francesca and Annette and my entire T-STEM team for all of your help in making this event possible. So thank you with that, and we will close it out. I think I'm supposed to hand it back to Paris, and we will be hoping to hear from you all soon. Thank you again.
Thank you, Dr. Pauly, and thank you to all the panelists that participated today. I just want to say again, we are so excited to be able to gain more information and insight from our panelists, and we're so excited to see all of the great accomplishments in the future from our future engineers. And also the link for the Engineering for Teens book is in the chat, and I believe Annette can post it again down there. And also the webinar will be available on the T-STEM website, and verbally that's www.transformingyourstemcareer.com. And I've also dropped that link in the chat as well. And we hope you all have a great rest of your day.
Awesome. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.